Has Arne Slot finally cracked and given us little tiny crumbs of who he might be targeting in the January transfer window? I think so. Let's talk about it because this is the channel that is all Liverpool all the time. It's all red. Please hit that like button and continue to support. Please subscribe to the channel as we continue to cover the best league and the best club. Absolutely the best club in the world. It's Liverpool. All right, let's talk about the two players that I think Arne Slot has maybe hinted at Liverpool pursuing in this upcoming transfer window. In his most recent press conference, Arne Slot hinted that Liverpool should be looking at perhaps a defender to sign and perhaps a backup for Mo Salah, who he said perhaps there is a little bit of concern that Liverpool are relying on him so much for goals and assists this season. So I'm going to break down the two players that might fit Arne Slot's team and his transfer policy that we know from the past. All right, are you ready? Are you ready? These are two names that you're probably, some of you have probably heard of, but they're not the mainstream like big names that Liverpool have been linked with. So I think these are really, really interesting. Let's start with the first. It is Loic Bade. Loic Bade is a 24-year-old central defender. He's a center back who can also play left back, I believe. He is 6'3" tall. France international, plays for Sevilla right now. And Loic Bade is, if you've ever watched him play, if you watch his highlights, he is very Virgil Van Dijk-esque. He plays with a lot of calm and poise and just has a lot of confidence at the back. He is a player that is probably not as well known as some of the other defenders Liverpool are linked with because, you know, his valuation right now I think is around 20 million pounds, 20 to 25 million pounds. And so he's one of those guys that maybe flies under the radar a little bit. But if you can think about this, think about Loic Bade and Ibrahima Konate, two French internationals playing together for the next, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years. Once Virgil van Dijk perhaps moves on, hopefully in 3 to 4 years, he stays with the club. But this guy looks really good. And I think he would be a player that would fit into the that would fit into the Slot system and be one of those calm and cool defenders at the back. He's got size. I like that about him. I'm not super interested in going after, a 6-foot center back. We need somebody in the middle like Virgil van Dijk who is big, tall, powerful, can command from the back. And I think Bade could have a future as a big defender for Arne Slot. If you look at these stats right here, look at this. This is in the past 365 days, just comparing him with other players in his position across the big, European leagues. Pretty impressive stuff. He is very good at tackling, very good at winning those tackles, and that 99th percentile there for tackles in the defensive third is very, very impressive for this guy. He just seems to do things really well, and it seems to come easy for him. Effortless almost, like you could make the case about Virgil van Dijk and how he defends. All right, number 2, this is my potential Mo Salah backup. It's Ani Haj Musa. This guy is really interesting because there's speculation that, and I think this is probably true, that Arne Slot actually wanted to sign this guy at Feyenoord because as soon as Arne Slot left, Feyenoord signed him. So there's probably some truth to that because they were probably pursuing him. And then right when Slot left, they signed this guy for a mere, I think it was less than 2 million pounds. So Haj Musa seemed to be I'm sure Arne Slot was working on that deal before he left. And they signed him. And this guy is very, very impressive right now. He, in the past month, he's scored a couple Champions League goals. One of those was against the one and only Manchester City in that 3-3 comeback for Feyenoord. So this guy, if you look at his recent results and his recent performances, is really, really good. He seems to be getting better each and every week. He would not be, both of these guys are not, massive transfers. I think they're more under the radar. But that's what Arne Slot likes to do. I've been thinking about would Arne Slot be comfortable, and I know he's not in charge of transfers, but of course he's going to be involved with them. Would he be comfortable with Liverpool signing an 80 million pound player versus a 20 to 30 million pound player when he kind of knows in the back of his head that Arne Slot can get maybe the same results out of them because of his ability to coach and get better? So Haj Musa, for me, is a guy that probably can come in right away, back up to Mo Salah, and he's got some electric stuff. If you've watched him play, he is very, very good at what he does. And if you look at these stats here, this is very, very impressive. And this is probably why Arne Slot wanted it. We know Arne Slot likes wingers who can press the defense, can take players on 1v1, can get those progressive carries into the final third and do damage. That's why he's, we've seen that with Mo Salah. We've seen that with Luis Diaz. Those two players have been preferred by Slot this season on the wings because they're very good at those progressive carries. Mo Salah maybe not as much anymore, but Mo Salah is Mo Salah, and he's just doing amazing things this season for Arne Slot. So if you look at these stats for Haj Musa, very, very good. Very, very good. This is the last 365 days against players of his position in the big European leagues. So progressive carry distance, very good carrier of the ball. That's 99th percentile. And then carries into the penalty area, 99th percentile. Very, very good. Very good for Haj Musa. He's one of the best. And then you look here as well. This is also very, very impressive because you look at the take-ons attempted. 7 take-ons attempted per game. Like, this is his bread and butter. And then, yes, he is successful with those about half of the time. That's in the 96th percentile. So Haj Musa, we know, of course, he plays for Feyenoord, so take that with a grain of salt. But he's doing it in the Champions League as well. It's not like he's just doing this in the Dutch league. He's doing this against teams like, Manchester City and other European teams that are in the Champions League. So Haj Musa, one to watch for sure. And these two players, if we go back and look at them side by side, Bade fits the back line of Liverpool. So he brings in some center back cover, but also, if he needs to, some left back cover. Now, if we were to sign Bade, we've got Virgil van Dijk, Konate when he's back fit. We've got Gomez, and we've got Kwanzaa. So that's 4 center backs that we can utilize that are, top quality, that can play in the Premier League and play in the Champions League. But then we'd also have Bade, Gomez, Tsimikas when he's back, and Robbo on the left back positions. And then on the right backs, we've got Trent, we've got Gomez, and we've got Bradley. So a lot of versatility there on the back line. I think that's why Bade is such an interesting purchase for Liverpool, because he gives them a lot of versatility and a lot of size. Now, Haj Musa, we know he is kind of like a Chiesa type player. He could probably play anywhere on that front line, but as a left-footed forward/winger, I think he would fit in nicely behind Mo Salah and give us some similar qualities to Mo Salah on that right wing position. So very, very interesting. As I said, Arne Slot has kind of hinted at those two positions needing some backup. But at the same time, it's going to be really interesting to kind of see what Arne Slot does here in January. He said today also that he is very, very happy with his squad, but I expect Liverpool to make some under-the-radar signings as they try to bolster their team for this amazing, amazing run coming up in the first half of 2025.
Yeah, of course.